Good morning. How are we? Oh gosh, I hope you're better than me. Yesterday was so hopeful at the end of the video. Like, my sofa's coming. That was just a fiasco. Gosh. Anyways. Hi, George, Veronica. Morning, Sarah. Okay, so today what we're going to do is start fresh. And what we're going to do today is this squash here in the middle. And we're going to use a stem stitch to fill in the squash. Okay? So I think it's going to look really, really nice. It's got some nice little lines here, a little curvy attitude. I've got 933, this kind of, I don't know, like a pinkish, beige-ish tan, I guess. We'll see. And then I would like to outline it, and I'm going to show you how to do that. The same stitch and everything. And I can't decide whether I want this kind of orangey 369 star or a really dark, dark, dark brown. But since we're going to use the brown for these acorns, I think I'm going to use the orange for the outline. So you can do this one of two ways. You can either fill it all in first, so fill the entire thing, and then add the lines after, or you can add the lines first and then fill in between the lines. And that's my favorite way, because then I don't have to guess where all these lines are after I already cover them up. Because I do that sometimes. You fill it all in and then you're like, oh, there was details in this. I forgot. So what I'm going to do is we're going to do, I think, 2 strands for the outline, and I'm going to show you how to separate them in just a minute. So it'll be a little bit like that. And then we'll do 3 strands. I'll zoom in. Then we'll do 3 strands for the fill, and we're going to use the same stitch for the entire thing. So you'll get a lot of practice. So I think that will look all right, you know? So let's get started. There's a couple different ways that you can separate your threads. The first one is my personal favorite. I call it the Y method because it makes a Y. But you separate the threads that you want. So I want 2 strands of this orange. And I'll say the number one more time. It's star 369, because there's a couple different oranges that we've got in here, but this is kind of like the darkest, dustiest orange. Okay, so the Y method is like this. You take your 2 strands, and I like to put some here and some here, or some here and some here, whatever. Let me zoom back out so you can actually see what I'm doing, because that's very close. Okay, and I kind of just untangle as I'm going, and normally you can put your finger inside like this, and you just untangle it as you go. So now I have 2 strands and 4 strands all separate. Now the other way that you can do it, let me just put that to the side, is, where's the end? You take it like this, and you kind of just take one out. So just the one. So now I have 3 and 1 because we took 2 out. So now we have 4 left. So now we have 3 and 1. Okay. So for this one, you kind of hold all the other threads like this, and you just pull the one you want out. So for this one, you have to do it one by one, unfortunately. It doesn't really work if you pull 2. I tend to get a lot more knots that way if I pull 2 out at the same time. And some threads are really more woven together than other ones. So sometimes you have to use the Y method, because when you pull one out, you just get a big knot. So it just depends. So I said 2 strands. So let's get another one out. You pull. Now with this method, again, you have to do it one by one. So that means that after you pull them all out one by one, you have to put them together. So you have to find the ends, put them together like that. And I always kind of smooth them out like that, and even like twist them a little bit together like that, just so that they like stay together a little bit, okay? The other thing I like to do when teaching stitches is I'll often do a little drawing or a little diagram. So I'm going to do that with this as well, only because we're going to use 2 strands, and I don't want you to get confused with the 2 strands because they're so thin. So the stem stitch is like this. It's also called an outline stitch. The only difference is where you put the loop, and that will make sense in just a minute. So what you're going to do is, this is the line that we want to stitch on. Let me get a different color, darker blue. And what you're going to do is start at the beginning. Gosh, choked on my spit. Wasn't that just lovely? Okay, and you're going to make a stitch. Now, if you have a really sharp curve, like the tops of these, you're going to make your stitches really small. But these ones are nice and gradual. So actually you can get away with making them a little bit larger, and it's okay. So we'll do our first stitch. You'll come up here, yeah, and you'll go down here, and you're going to leave that loop. And I like to leave the loop on the hump. So if your hump is going like this, your loops will all go on top. If your hump is going down like this, then all your loops will go on the bottom. Okay, it'll make sense when I actually show you. I'll show you the stitches. And the next place that you're going to come up is right in between these 2. So right here. And you're going to make another loop. Okay, so this one right here will be pulled tight like this. You're going to make another loop the same length from here to here as it is from here to here. Okay, and then you're going to pull that, come up right here, and make another loop. So you're getting like a twisty kind of like this on your hump, on your mountain, I don't know, hill, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so let me show you how to do it on here so that you can actually see. Some people like the diagrams, and some people are like, I don't get it, just show me. So sometimes I like to do both, especially with stem stitch, because each stitch should be the same length, and you should come up in the middle of each stitch, right in the center. I also like sometimes for the first stitch to be the same length as the second stitch to be the same length as the first stitch, but I'll show you that later. Once we get the actual, we know how to do it, okay? So I'm going to start on this side right here. This little outline. I'm going to turn my hoop sideways so that you can see a little bit better. And zoom in. Okay. So we're going to start right here. 2 strands. Okay. And you're going to make your first stitch. And you're going to leave that loop. So do you see? Just like the detached chain stitch, we're leaving those loops, and we're going to pull them tight when we do the next stitch. So we're going to come up in the middle of these 2. It doesn't have to be perfect, okay? And then pull that tight and make your next loop. So from here to here and from here to here should be about the same length. So you're just kind of overlapping your stitches a little bit. So we'll do a little half stitch forward so we can keep the same stitch length. Leave your loop, come up on the line. You're going to pull that loop and then start again. Yeah? Are we getting it? I didn't tighten this. That's okay. I thought the hoop was falling out of the hoop stand, and I was like, oh no. That's kind of annoying. Okay, so I'm just doing 2 strands, stem stitch, and I'm just doing the lines. So these, I think there's like 6 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, 6 lines. So this is just gonna do a little outline. Now, if you don't want an outline on yours, then just go straight to the color that we're going to use, which is that light pinkish tan 933. And you can use 3 strands and just crack on. But I think having a little outline is nice because you can get some more details in there. My embroidery hoop is like, no, that's not happening today. Don't you just love it when that happens, when you get those little knots and you're like, oh no. Now the smaller your stitches, the more twisty your stem stitch is going to look. Okay, so there's one line. I'm going to go and do, well, as many as I can, really. All the rest of them. Now you can work these all right to left if you are better working that way, or you can go back left to right if that's comfortable for you too, because some people like it that way. Some people they work in a certain way and that's how they like it. So this is what I was saying about when you start your first one. Sometimes I like to go all the way to the beginning, and that's because sometimes you miss a little half stitch, and then the very end of this looks a little like not a solid line. It looks like 2 strands and then 4 strands almost. So what I like to do for my first one, start it at the beginning and then do your half stitch forward, and then you can keep all your stitches the same length. A little advanced tip for you there. And then when we end, I like to end and put an extra little half stitch at the end too, because then it makes them all, the line, all the same length, you know? Sorry, the same thickness, not length. Okay, so we're just gonna go right up to where we started. It looks like I've got, not there, here. What's going on here? So this is what I mean by that, whereas I could just finish like that, but instead I'm going to do that little half. So here, I'm not going forward, I'm just going to go right back down that same hole. It looks like I've got one strand that's a little bit shorter than the other, which it will happen, especially if you're separating threads, that sometimes they can become untwisted. And one strand just might catch. So sometimes you might have to adjust your thread a little bit. Okay, then they'll all lay flat. All right, so we've got our next one. And if you notice, what I said was to stitch on the hump, put your loop on the hump. So you're probably thinking, Tori, what do we do on these two when they go the other way, when they go down? See how these go down like this? What do we do then? You put the loop down. So the ones on the right, the loop will be to the right. And the ones on the left, the loop will be to the left. Obviously, if you turn your hoop, it'll be up and down instead of right and left. Because I work better in this kind of way. You know, turning my hoop, changing, so that I can get like a better angle instead of keeping it straight up and down and like struggling a little bit to kind of figure out what's the best angle for this or how to make my stitches lay straighter. Sometimes you just need to turn your hoop and it solves the problem, you know? See, it's happened again. Good morning from Rio. Good morning. must be early there. And on the back, you get a nice little back stitch. It looks like a back stitch, even though you didn't do a back stitch. Those threads are not your size today. I know. What is happening? Do you know what? Honestly, I feel like sometimes, like your mood when you stitch, the threads know. That's going to sound really like hokey, but like I feel like they know. Like I'm so over this sofa situation. Nothing turned out to be right yesterday. Not my friend. And, yeah, I feel like the threads, they know. I feel like they know that I'm feeling frustrated and they're like, stop it. Don't do this now. But I'm like, no, I have to. We're going to power through it. Because guys, I'm like determined to have a good day today. Like it cannot be like yesterday. Do you know what I mean? Like, Lord, bear me strength. Oh. So we ended up getting the sofa in through, the next door neighbor has a small gate. Like literally like the small, like one person can fit through. And we had to call the neighbor and a friend to come over and carry the sofa on top of their heads like this to get through this backyard, then remove a fence panel, and then take it through the back door because we have the double doors back here. So we got it through. And I put all the legs on it, and they went to go get food. We got Chinese last night. And by the time they came back, I was like, oh my gosh, I had put the mattress in the sofa bed. I put all the legs on, screwed them all on and everything. I was so psyched, like, yeah, we made it work. And I sat on it, and it was like sitting on a piece of wood with a flat pillow on it. Just real quick, notice I'm going down with my loops because I'm on the bottom, and the curve now is going on, dipping down instead of dipping up. So we're just going to change our stitching depending on which way the curve is going. Want to make sure I'm not chatting too much. I'm like actually teaching you what I'm doing. Oh gosh, don't you hate that sometimes? Like, stop talking about your stupid life problems and tell me what you're doing with your stitching. Oh. You know, if you don't laugh, you'll cry. Really. So, like, we sat on it all night, and, like, one of the helpers that came over, like, our friend, he's, like, really tall, like, really big, plays rugby. And so he was, like, sitting in it and, like, on all kinds of different positions, like, trying to, like, make them softer and, like, break them in, if you know what I mean. Oh. Gosh. We can take it back, but it's just the fact that we are going to have to take it through, like take the fence panel out again and like have people come over and carry it over their heads. And then like take all the stuff, like, oh. So I don't know what to do. I figure I'll call my parents later and complain to them. Okay, so we've just got this little bit here to do, because if you see, these lines here are not actually for the squash. They're for the acorns, and the acorns are on top of the squash. So we're just going to go up to that point with the fill color, and then this right here is just going to be the last little line that we do. So we had the 2 strands, and the color, again, was star 369. Yeah, it just seemed like nothing went right yesterday. Do you know what I mean? I couldn't save the video from yesterday. And it took me like 2 or 3 hours to save it. I ended up having to watch the entire video, like on my phone. It was like 50 minutes long. Like literally, like I just like let it play, and then finally I could download it. So I don't know what was going on yesterday, but nothing aligned. Do you know what I mean? It started off so good, and then it just was like a slow downhill. It'll be fine though. It'll be okay today. Robin says if you don't like it, send it back. I'll video call you, or you can video call me after this when we're finished. Give me like 5 minutes for the video to upload. But then I'll show you. So the back should look like this. Let's just push it down a little bit. Okay. Oh, it looks kind of weird, like little legs, like a pack of 3 legs. But yeah, so you can kind of see where I went down and then back up and then down and then back up, okay? You don't have to work this way. You can go all the way from right to left the entire time if you want to do it that way. So there's no right or wrong way. I know some people, they say, real quick, when I have less strands, I like to do more knots, because if you make 1 knot with 2 strands, it's a very, very small knot, which means that on the front, if you were to snag any of these on accident, you could take the knot through the front of the fabric. So I like to do like 2 or 3 knots if I have less strands, like 3 or 2 or 1 strand. I'll do a lot more knots just so that, you know, right on top of each other, so that I know that they won't poke through. So yeah, we've got that. That's done. And we're still doing the same thing. I know some people say what I was saying before. Some people say that you should make your back just as pretty as your front. And I feel like, meaning the back of the embroidery, not like your bum. The back just as pretty as the front. So making sure it's really nice and neat, and making sure it's tidy, making sure you don't jump around to different places, even in the same shape. And I say, no shit. Because I feel like as long as you can't see it from the front, you're good. Okay? And that was a very undercover BS, if you didn't hear it. Because if you can't see it from the front, meaning like if I were to stitch here with a brown and I was like, oh, I need some brown here, I would not go straight from here all the way over, because I have white fabric and you could possibly see that from the front. Okay, and this is what I mean. If I had a brown and I go straight over like this, you can see that line. Do you see it? Can you see it on the video? You can see that line of dark color there. So that's the only instance where I would not jump around. Meaning, like, if I had a dark green, I wouldn't go like from the tip of here up to the tip of there, because you're going to see that dark color there. You know what I mean? So you can always go back on yourself and kind of weave your thread through existing stitches that you've already done on the back, or you can just cut it and start it again. So I feel like if you've got knots on the back, if you've made a bit of a mess, it's okay. Like, don't stress out. It'll be all right, okay? The only instance, like I said, where I would not do it is where you are stretching your thread a long distance and you're going to see it on the front, especially with dark colors. I always feel so bad when people make such beautiful embroideries, like writing, lettering, names, things like that. And all you can see through their fabric is the lines going from word to word or from letter to letter. And you're like, oh, babe, it was so good. Now, some people like to have 2 pieces of fabric and put that in there like that, meaning like hoop 2 pieces of fabric in the hoop. I'm not a big fan of that. I've tried it numerous times and I just don't like stitching it that way. Like, I don't enjoy it. I don't know what's the deal with me. Like I don't know what's wrong, but I tried it and I was like, nope, that's not for me. I can't do that. So instead I just try and make my shapes in my shapes. So like if I've got to go from here to here, that's fine because the whole shape covers the stretch of the thread. But if I have to go from like the tip of here to the tip of there, then I'll either weave my thread through my existing stitches and get to there, or just knot it, snip it, and start again. You know, it doesn't really take that long to do that. So, but again, it's up to what you like. Like some people I know, they love it. They love to stitch with 2 pieces of fabric. They put a plain white one behind, and they just have the best time doing that. And if that's you, then go you. Like, I'm glad you found something that works for you, you know? Here we go. Okay, so I started over here. There's really no reason for that other than that I know I have a lot of knots there. So that's the only thing. Have a think about where all your knots are, and try to position your stitches to where you're going to give yourself a good time because there's nothing worse than having to go up through a knot and up through a knot, and then your knot comes out, and then, you know, you don't have, the thread's really small, and then you don't have a good knot. Okay, so I've got 3 strands now. This is going to give a little bit of a thicker line. I've said it like 5 times. 9, 3, 3. That's the color. And yeah, I just separated them in 2. And we're going to use the exact same stem stitch. And we're going to work it close to the outline. Some areas you might need 2 rows. Some areas you might need 3 rows, meaning you might get away with doing 1 row here and then 1 row here, and this area right here will be filled up. But when you do your next row, you won't fill up this shape. So you might have to start here and then continue with a 3rd row and maybe even a 4th row. So hopefully, because we're using the exact same stitch, we're just using 1 more strand. We're only at 28 minutes, so I'm just going to keep going until until I fill it. Now, if you don't like the look of the 3 strands next to the 2 strands, like maybe you feel like it's a bit more twisty, maybe because it's a lighter color, which will always be the case. You'll always see the stitches really clearly if you have a lighter color. And you'll see that when we do things like the dark blue, this dark brown, and even this dark green. When you have a dark color like this, all the stitches will blend together in one line. But when you have a light color, you can see every single stitch. Every single one. I always bring out the Smith's sample hoop I made a couple years ago as an example, because you can literally see every single stitch I did. I always keep it out because it's such a good example. So I've just got white thread here. I don't know if I actually have any black writing thread hoops left. Let me check. Here we go. Same stitch. Okay, same stitch for the S and the M. Do you see? The black ones all blend together. So even though it's the exact same stitch, the white ones, you can see every single stitch I did. But the black ones, they kind of blend together like that. Even if you put it up close. Now you can see these ones here, but all the ones in here, they blend together more. So that might be part of it too. So some people, they think, oh, I don't like my stitching when I did the lighter colors. It was so sloppy. It might not be sloppy. It might just be that you can actually see all of your stitches and, and that's the reason that you don't like it, is because they don't all blend together. Now, I thought I would do 3 strands here instead of 2 strands for the fill, because I thought maybe, you know how squash have that like humpy feeling? They kind of like have the indentations a lot of the time. I thought maybe it would look like that. So we'll see if this is effective in that or not. The words that come out of my mouth sometimes, man. Humpy feeling. What is that? I forget what it was last stitch along. I said something really silly too. That's just typical. That's just how it is. But yeah, I was hoping that it would give like a nice raised effect in the fill, and the outline would kind of stay flat against. So let's just see down here, because it looks like we're going to have to fill this little bottom corner in a little bit more. Now I'm just using rows of stem stitch. That's it. Exactly the same as the outline, but we're just using it to fill it in. So hopefully it'll work. Got the light on right above me, and I'm telling you, the video looks a bit dark to me. Like it's not as bright as it normally is. I noticed it yesterday as well, so this is another one where I might fit stitches in where you cannot fit anymore, depending on where your outline actually goes. You know, if you put them really close together, if you put them a little bit farther apart, it'll just depend, especially up here. So if you're like, oh, she got, you know, I only got halfway up, but she got all the way up. Like, it just might be that you did your outlines a little bit close together, or you traced them a little bit more close together. Embroidery is so interesting because you can all stitch the same thing and they can all look a little bit different, you know? There's lots of those like stitch it in your style, like a draw it in your style challenge. If you don't know what I'm talking about, that's where normally people will give a prompt, so you can be like stars, and then everyone will stitch a star. They can do it any color, any fabric, any way they want. Like someone could use beads, because you can use beads in embroidery. Some people might use just regular thread. Some people might make like a 3D embroidered star. Like you just do it in whatever way that you want to, your style. And yeah. That's always like a fun little challenge. It takes a lot of time though, which is why I've never really done them. But it's fun to see how people can do the same thing in lots of different ways. I think that's Jessie finally getting out of bed. She'll just want to go out. David took her for a walk today, so she's probably like, oh wow, that was tiring. Are you going to fill behind the grapes? That will be when we do the grapes, we'll do that. So, because normally when you get a pack of grapes, there isn't grapes like evenly spaced out, if you know what I mean, like this. That was just for like, make it easier for you to draw it. Just a minute. Here you go. Let's unlock the door. You can go outside. Go on. But yeah, so that will be part of the grapes there. She's just looking at me like, as if you just let me out and you're not going to play or do anything. Like, no. This is like the soothing part to me when you know what you're doing and then you can just like fill it in, you know? It's like, oh, so nice. Just boom, boom, boom. So hopefully it will look good. I feel like once we turn it, it'll be better. You know? Maybe I should have used the darker brown. But you don't have to use these colors either. There's lots of other Anchor Threads colors that you could use. Because squash come in all different kinds of colors. So if you like, I don't know, mint green ones, you can make a mint green ones. Sorry, I missed that because my screen froze and I had to refresh. So the behind the grapes is going to be grapes. They're all going to be grapes. So we're not using this color behind the grapes. Hannah says she likes the lighter brown color. Oh, that's good. I feel like we have enough colors that you could change it if you wanted to, you know? As long as they're not like two exact same colors right next to each other. Because you want each of the elements to stick out if you're going to make a lot of things like this. Do you know what I mean? You want to be able to see all the things you make, because otherwise, what's the point of editing them all? Like, we don't want to just like waste our time stitching for no reason. So you just want to make sure that you can see all the things. So what I just did there, if you see your thread starting to get twisty like this, not like that, that's where my needle was. But if you see it start to get twisty on its own, that's because you're doing the same repetitive stitch over and over and over. And you often see this with French knots. Come on. When you're like twisting your fabric round and or your thread round and round and round. But you can also see it with other stitches when you do the same movement. And what's happening is that your thread is getting twisted. So if you do see that and it's giving you a bit of trouble, you can always flip your hoop upside down and let your needle dangle. And what will happen is it will start spinning like that. And that's what you need to do. And it will untwist. And then you won't have any more, what's it called? Twisty needles. Okay, so what we're going to do now, because now we've gotten to this part here, is I'm actually going to, oh, thanks, Jessie. We're actually going to put the loop on the bottom again. And I'm going to hug this outside edge here. Really, babe? Just needed a drink. She did. Jeez. She cracks me up. She's just like, oh, my sign to stop, apparently. You finished. I'm not stopping, though. I'm determined. Determined to get this finished. Just reminding us to drink some water. Yes, guys, take a water break. Do your physio. Lay down. Go on, lay down. Go ahead. She's just looking at me like, you're forgetting what we do in the mornings. I'm not going to say it, because then she's going to get really excited. I drank some water as you said that. There you go. Drink some water, yes. Do your stuff. Take a break. She's making her bed on the old couch. It feels like autumn today. Like a lot. It's like a little bit breezy. Hello. Guys, that might have to be it. I'm running out of thread. And it's already 42 minutes, so I might have to love you and leave you and finish this in a minute. Come on, just let me get to the top at least. And then it's so gloomy here. It's not so bad here, actually. Yesterday was really gloomy. I thought it was going to start raining, and I was like, no, cannot rain, because I've got my sofa outside. That's stuck out there. Come on, last one. Maybe? Just a minute. Stop that. Stop. Oh, she's still... I put the donut over her head, yeah? She's still licking that stupid fingernail that got cut off. And it just won't make it like scab over and like heal. You know? Because she keeps licking it. Oh, Jessie. The licking, man. So I'm just doing a little knot on the back if I can. And then, yeah, I'll finish filling that in with the 3 strand. Get her some doggy socks. I'm going to need to. I'm going to have to like put a sock on her and like rubber band it. You know what I mean? Like to her wrist or something. Looks so good on the back. Yeah. It's nice. So yeah, so this is a little bit of texture. If texture is not your thing, there's lots... Oh, stop it. You can always do... It's all happening today, guys. You can always do other stitches. So if you wanted to do like a satin stitch, and you could do like a straight stitches, kind of like we did yesterday. But I had satin stitch planned for other things. So I thought this would be a really nice way to add some texture, and just a really slight outline, you know? So obviously these ones right here, the loop go on this side, and then on these ones here, the loop goes on this side. So yeah, I can't wait to see what you do. I feel like, oh, I feel like it's going to be good. Trying to be positive here, guys. So yeah, be sure to tag me at the Mommy Fox. Use the hashtag the Mommy Fox SAL, Anchor Threads, Anchor Crafting, Anchor Crafts. And be sure to tag Anchor so that they know you're participating in the Stitchalong, and hopefully they'll repost some of your work on their account. And yeah, I will see you tomorrow. Again, if you don't finish, don't stress. The videos do save. They will get uploaded. The prep video in day 1 is already on YouTube, so if you want to see that, you can. I'm just going to delete all the ones from the last Stitchalong that are still processing. I thought if I just left it, it would happen, and it's not happening. So I'm going to stop trying to make it happen, delete them all, and start again. Start over with new downloads. So hopefully I can get those up too, because I know someone sent me a message about that yesterday. I think that's it. So enjoy your Tuesday. I hope you have a lovely, lovely day, and I'll speak with you tomorrow. All right? Bye.